I love Stephen King. So, welcome back to my channel as I'm going to review Swan Song by Robert McCammon, Stephen King's different seasons, and The Long Walk. So I've back before in my last video I was finishing Swan Song, and right after that I got The Long Walk by Stephen King and different seasons, and I hadn't read Stephen King in a while, and he's my favorite author. So I decided to go and get his books and read them. So first off, Swan Song by Robert McCammon is a book that I saw on with my favorite booktube channel, Mike's Books Reviews, which I was watching, and I heard that it was very much like The Stand, and The Stand is my favorite novel of all time. I haven't talked about it on the channel, but it's practically my most favorite, best novel, I would say, that I think I love, because I think it's just incredible the way it's written by King, and everybody says this and that book is very similar, and I was like really interested in seeing if this book is any good, and it's incredible. I don't think I've never read Robert McCammon, but this is the first time I've read it, and I gotta say it's incredible. It's got vivid characters, vivid story where basically nuclear attacks happen between America and kind of Russia, and like they wipe out America and Russia, and it's kind of like it's become this post-apocalyptic land where like this evil force wants to take over the whole place and make it like hell because he just loves evil. Meanwhile, there's other sets of characters. Like one character's name is Sister, who finds this weird glowing ring object, and so it has like magical powers, and she doesn't know what to do with it. Meanwhile, you have a girl named Swan, who is the key to everything, and Josh, a pro wrestler kind of guy, stuck. And you see these three characters and how they meet each other and how they try to fight this evil and how everything happens, and it's brilliantly done to the point where you'll be reading it and you'll be engaged and you'll love these characters because it's a whole journey. It's not like it happens in a few months. This book takes place over years, and it feels like an epic. And even though it kind of shares similarities about the post-apocalyptic multiple characters, it's not even close to Stephen King's The Stand, where it's incredible. Both are incredible, but they're different. Where the in Stephen King's The Stand, it was about a virus. Here, it's not a virus. It's basically this nuclear attacks, and the amount of characters we see here are less than the amount we see in Stephen King's, and they're distinctly different. Everything that happened in this book is completely different from what happened in The Stand, and so it's so brilliantly done. And the great thing about it is that it makes you care. It takes its time, slowly making you go through the entire journey, and it feels like this epic grand space opera kind of set on Earth story where you're just in for it and you care for the characters. By the end, what happens to them, what goes on, and it's just brilliant. Meanwhile, The Stand, which is also incredible, also kind of talked about humanity as a whole and will they ever learn from their mistakes. This is much more of a space opera and like epic in a way, and it fleshes out its bad characters, its good characters to the point where you understand them, and has this different ideas, like a Crohn's disease, like this, like not Crohn's disease, like Job's mask, as it is called. Yeah, you get these like veins and twirly on your faces, and then eventually, when you become fully the person that you are, your face becomes the way it's supposed to be. It's like this weird concept, but it's so brilliantly done where you start to care for each and every character that you don't want to let go. And by the end, I was kind of sad because it finished, and it's a big book. It's like near. It's about like 850 pages. It's a big chunker of a book, but it's so good where Robert McCammon realizes how to take his time and make you care for the story, make you for the characters, and everything that happens at the start ends up affecting in the end and it's just incredible and just heart wrenching. Yeah, so I think it's incredible. It's very close to being top 10 of the year, but it's just incredible. I think anyone who has read The Stand should read it, or anyone in journal should read it. And I've been thinking about reading Boy's Life, which I've heard is also incredible. But this is the first Robert McCammon I ever read, and I just loved it. All right, next up, The Long Walk. So I hadn't read Stephen King since last year's summer, where I read The Shining and everything. He's my favorite author. The Stand is my favorite book, and he's just completely changed my life. I should make a video on that. But anyways, right now, so I went to Barnes and Nobles and I got two books of his, and the first one I read was The Long Walk, which he wrote as Richard Bachman, and basically this follows this kid named Richard Garrity, who's 16, and him and these other 99 other kids that go for this walk, and then you keep walking at a 4 miles an hour pace until one is left. That's literally the story. But what makes it so good is that he explores these kids' dark humanity. And the world is that they live in is a little bit different. It's set in a different era, and it's done in a way where you read it and you fall in their world, and you don't know enough about the world, but you're engaged. You're engaged because of the characters, and it's a very bare bones story. It's really rare for King to write this small, but it's a time ticking thriller. It's a slow burn thriller where you see Ray Garrity, sorry, not Richard Garrity, Ray Garrity, make friends, and then how they slowly start to die off, and you see each and every set of these characters fleshed out, and you see that even these kids are complex. And Stephen King is incredible at this, where he will write kids in this perfect. As a 16-year-old myself, I can tell you that he just nails everything on point. He just nails the jokes, the ideas, everything, and he's trying to constantly talk about this disturbing way that people are, and that just how messed up even kids can be, or people are on the sidelines watching these people walk and die, and they're interested in the violence. Like they can't look away. Like it doesn't disgust them. And he explores like madness too, that because as they start to walk to the point to the end, the finalists start to slowly get mad, like that they don't understand. And you see slowly how they strip away to these bare bone people, and they're just shred of humanity. It's so incredible that it was paced for me. I finished it in 2 days because I just couldn't keep it away from myself, because I just had to know what's gonna happen, and it just engages you to the point where you just can't look away, and you're like, why is this happening? What's gonna happen? And that it's incredible. The only thing that I would say is bad about it is that it wasn't long enough. Like I feel it could have been longer, and everything. And by the ending, you'll be stunned because it talks about pure madness, insanity, and humanity in a way that only King can. And it's an incredible read. I think one of my favorites from King, where he hasn't stretched the story too much. It's just bare bones, and you find more about these characters as they walk, and it's very and it feels, oh, it's short, but it's slow burn. Like trust me, when you read it, you feel everything that these characters are feeling. Oh, that was a good throw. It just landed on the other book too, like right on top of it perfectly, like there, like it's perfect. But anyways, that doesn't matter. But uh, I I also read Different Seasons right after that because I wanted to read that first, which contains four of his incredible stories. And Shawshank Redemption. I don't need to say enough more than that, because that book is, and that movie is incredible. I've seen the movie before, and so reading it, it was interesting because Stephen King is mostly known for horror and weird stuff, while most people don't realize he's just incredible at everything. What he does here, I think, is that he talks about hope, like in this place, and it's very much that the movie just takes what the story and then just expands on it, because it's really essentially the movie just not expanded into details, and it's so good where you care for these characters and you love and realize them. But majority of the time, he's talking about hope. He's talking about the fact that you can hope is what makes humans so great, and if you work hard enough, everything you want you can achieve, and hope is the key. And it's just essentially showing where Red is this kind of guy who's been in the prison for years, so he doesn't really care. Meanwhile, Andy just comes out of nowhere and just becomes this guy who for over the years has slowly been developing this plan and gets out, and it's just incredible. And if I spoiled it, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure most people would know. But it's just fake. It's talking about this character who goes as a banker who's put in jail for killing his wife, which we find out if he actually did it or not. And then you see him in this harsh prison trying to survive, and he makes these friends, and it's all about that friendship, and it's also about that hope in your heart and humanity, and what makes a man, what makes humans live and different from animals. And you see this harsh prison life, and you realize that, oh my god, that prison isn't easy. That is just this horrific thing. And he just it's a weird thing that in a place that's so hard and brutal, he talks about hope, and it's just about the heart and the strength and what makes you alive, and there's nothing else, nothing more. The second story is Apt Pupil. An apt pupil follows this guy named Todd Bowden, who is a paper boy, and he finds out that one of the new neighbors was secretly has a dark past, that he was a Nazi. And so he starts developing a relationship with him, and each book, each novella is like different seasons. So like the first one is a summer of hope, a spring eternal's hope, I believe that's what it's called. The second one is called the summer of corruption with a pupil, and so that one talks about corruption, and it's very disturbing story where it's not like it's got horror elements. It's just that by being around this horrible human being, you start to see that this kid becomes disturbing, but at the same time the man also himself is being corrupted by this guy. It's not that it's a mutual where they're just developing and corrupting each other, and it's just that you don't understand what's going on and why it's going on. And basically you see throughout the story how they both progress, and it's disturbing where for the first time I just wanted to finish the story so quickly because I hated it. And he makes you hate the main character because you start to see him as a monster, and you realize that the point of the book is that corruption can happen from anywhere, and that it's very important to be around the right people. As Aristotle said, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. That the people he was hanging around changed him into this man. And that in a way, a horrible human being is inside all of us. That we are all disturbing, we're all monsters, just hiding in the shadows, just waiting for a chance to just leap out. And he creates these complex characters that you see become a bit more disturbing by each page. And you see how they both start to play mind games with each other, trying to see who's the upper hand, and start to commit crimes. And it's just disturbing, but it's an incredible read where you see the downfall of these two men, and you understand that how horrible corruption and how you should be around the right people and everything. And the third one is Fall from Innocence, The Body, which was made into a movie called Stand By Me. I haven't seen the movie. This was the one where I haven't seen the movie, but I had heard about this story, and I heard it's an incredible coming age story, and I have to say that's my favorite story of this novella collection, because what he does here is just masterpiece. Like masterpiece writing, one of his best stories ever, where he follows these four simple kids in this town of Castle Rock, where this kid died and they can't find his body, and they believe it's by the trailer tracks. Like one kid, he finds out from his brother. So they decide to spend the whole night camping and just try to find this body. And it feels like, oh, this is classic King horror and everything. But it's not. Because it's talking about something else. And that is, as kids, how we were, and how as we grow up, we become these adults in this harsh, real world. And that's what it's talking about. And it's so brilliantly, beautifully done, where in it, he's also talking about friendship, but he's talking about the beauty of friendship through horror. There's nothing like that here. It's just completely realistic, and you see them through their entire fun moments through the town, and you see each of these characters explore and grow and blossom, because you see one kid, his father was abusive and burned his ear, so he has to wear hearing aids, but he's still trying to defend his father because he's a kid. He doesn't want to accept the fact that his father was an inhumane man who abused him. And you start to see that these characters, as children start to slowly lose and become reality as they get closer and closer. That it's not about the body, it's about their innocence. Because as kids, we're innocent. We don't understand the world. We don't think of it as a harsh, horrible world where disturbing things happen. We think of it as a world where things don't turn out. Things are always happy, and you see these kids start with these complex emotions, and you start to see it strip away, and you start to see them become kind of adults in a way and find a way. And he also talks about friendship, that in a way that those friends that you have as kids, though you never have friends like those friends that you're always around, that you're so free, like you're like brothers, and that love and appreciation you have for each other, that never goes away, and that you never find friends like that. He talks about that too, and how relationships sometimes drift apart and they never come back together, and that how death also affects and everything that happens. And it's just a metaphorical coming of age masterpiece that King has made. And the last one is the breathing method, which is the weakest story, I would say, because it's in a way is a classic horror tale, and basically follows this one guy who finds this club that is a never-ending weird club where you have never-ending rooms. People get lost, and they tell stories. And so this one man tells a story about this pregnant lady, while he was young as a doctor, and how she was a single mom. And so what happens, and it's kind of horror mixed in. And the reason why I would say is weak is because the first three stories, they're incredible, but they're talking about something. And the fourth one, it just feels like it's a great short horror piece, but not enough to be talking about something much more deeper or darker. And it kind of is, it's a very good story, but I felt they could have made something about winter and talked about it. But it's still a great story, and but I would say it's my least favorite. So first is The Body, then Shawshank, then Apt Pupil, or I would say Apt Pupil. I don't know. They're great. They're switchable, and then fourth would be the breathing method. But overall, I still love this. I think King is incredible. I think this is the best way to start King now, because it shows his different sides of King, not just pure horror or scariness, and it's just incredible. I missed that one, but it's just incredible the way he has written, and just this great reading area that I had. And so yeah, that was the video. So if you watched, please subscribe.